if you have followed our coverage of the Oklahoma teenager who was convicted of brutally raping and strangling two of his ex-girlfriends, almost killing one of them, only to have his 78-year prison sentence magically disappear, I hope you're sitting down, and I hope you've had a sip. Because we begin tonight with a sickening update to that gut-wrenching perversion of justice. It's another story, but from the same county, same court, and even the same judge, suggesting that the sweetheart deal given to that kid, Jesse Mack Butler, I say kid, he's an adult. He's going to turn 19 soon, right? Committed his crimes at 17, but the whole, adult thing he was raised to just went away, got knocked back down to youthful offender. Starting to look like maybe that wasn't a fluke, right? Butler's deal centered on being reclassified from adult to, quote, youthful offender. And for whatever reason, the prosecutor and the judge both signed off on that deal, which means, just like that, the now 18-year-old swapped 7 decades of hard time for community service instead, with a little bit of counseling and a curfew and no social media. And when he turns 19 in just a few months, his record will be expunged. Don't go searching for him if you're trying to date him, or if you're going to hire him, it won't show up. But none of that would have worked for Seth Swaim, who was just a little too old at age 24 to qualify for such a deal, after being caught sexting a 13-year-old, a little girl, back in 2018. At the time, Swaim was a teacher in Cushing, Oklahoma. Obviously, he isn't anymore. Police say he stalked a 13-year-old student on Snapchat and asked her to send him sexually explicit photos and then meet him in private. There's even, descriptions of him trying to crawl through her bedroom window. And a year later, he pleaded guilty and was given a 10-year prison sentence. Makes perfect sense to me. But wait for it and have another sip. That sentence was suspended. Reports vary on how much time he actually spent in the lockup, but it wasn't a whole lot more than a year, tops. So Seth Swaim got out of jail. And fast forward 5 years to July 2024, guess who was arrested again? Yup, take a third sip. This time for allegedly raping a 16-year-old girl at a gas station in his truck. For reasons not entirely clear, that charge against him was dropped. And then last October, Swaim was instead charged with 10 counts of engaging in sexual communication with a minor by use of technology. In other words, sexting, which I think we can all agree is a far cry from raping someone at a gas station. Still, the sexting, well, that violated the ex-teacher's probation from the earlier sweetheart deal he got, and I'd have my eyes shut too. So in June of this year, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison, not suspended. But the newer cases and the newer victims would never have happened had this guy served out his first sentence. The one where he was given 10 but served 1. I'm joined now by someone who knows a lot more about these cases than I do or anyone else. Justin Shepard is a digital journalist who posts under the handle Just in the Nick of Crime. He's been on top of this story and the others from the jump. Justin, this is the kind of thing where I think the folks in Payne County should be out in the street with pitchforks. Are they? And if not, why not?
Well, they're getting there. Apparently on November 5th, there's going to be a protest starting at 10 a.m. at the courthouse in Payne County, because the citizens are very frustrated with it. They're very appreciative to have the spotlight on there because, a lot of them, we're talking about 2 cases, but there are so many more. People are messaging me, telling me about their own stories, and just the fact that this seems to be a very common practice in Payne County, and they're furious and they're tired of it.
So the judge in the cases, is it Judge Susan Worthington? Do I have that right from the last time you were on with me about the story? Okay.
Correct.
How did she sign off on it? Judges are judges. They're supposed to be Lady Justice, right? They see nothing, they hear nothing, they go on the facts, and these facts are filthy in both cases. How did this happen?
That's a great question, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure out why this happened or how, because like you said, he was sentenced to 10 years. And you're right, there are varying reports. I've heard anywhere from 8 months to about 1 year and 4 months. Either way, not long enough, and then he gets out. And just a quick thing, so you're aware, apparently he didn't go back to jail. The violation of his probation was not the fact that he was sexting a 16-year-old girl, not the fact that she was raped. It was the fact that he got a DUI. He apparently violated this
Oh,
protective
God.
order 10 or 11 times. The Judge Worthington, kept giving him a fine of $500 to $1,000. Seth's mom kept paying it. He kept walking free and kept violating one right after another, which, in my opinion, is just a total disregard of the justice system and the court's orders.
So let me get this straight. He is sexting a 13-year-old, asking for dirty pictures. He's climbing through her bedroom window. He gets 10 years. He serves one. He gets out. He's now maybe raping a 16-year-old in his truck at a truck stop, but that charge gets dropped. Then he's sexting with a minor. I don't know if it's the same as the 16-year-old or a whole other victim. And 10 times he violates his orders under probation, and they just slap him on the wrist. His mommy pays a fine, and he's free to roam about the cabin until he drinks and drives. That's what got him back behind bars, not the sexting with kids?
Yeah, correct. The reason he's back behind bars right now, and he's in county, he's been in county since, my understanding, since like June 11th. They've not transferred him back to a prison. Nobody really knows why. But yes, would put him back behind bars. What the official probation violation wasn't the acts committed with these underage girls, with these minor girls. It was the fact that he was drinking and driving.
Okay, so is there a trial? Okay, I'm trying to figure out what reason he'd be stuck in the county jail instead of going to prison where he belongs. And it's been 4 months. You said June. We're now at the end of October. So is there a trial coming for what he did to the underage girl 10 different times by sexting with her?
So there is litigation that's proceeding based on all of that. My understanding is in November, there is a status hearing, and that's kind of the next step. But that's kind of where it's at. There's not an official trial. Like I said, the next step is just a status hearing, and that's again since all of this started, since his arrest again in June, where he had probation violation, to now November. It's just the wheels of justice here are turning very slowly on this, because a status hearing, that's going to be quick in and out, and then they'll set another date.
Sounds like they got molasses in the spokes, for God's sake. Can I ask you about the rape charges? I said something's rotten in Denmark, and I feel like that might be the one that's the most rotten for Swaim, certainly not for Jesse Mack Butler. But is it possible that the rape charges could be reignited now that maybe the pitchforks will come out and people are eyes on, and now it's possible to bring them back unless they were, unless they were dismissed with prejudice? Do you know?
So I don't have the full details on that. I would think that they possibly could, now that there is a pretty large spotlight on Payne County, Oklahoma, on this particular judge. I know you had on Representative J.J. Humphrey the other night, and I spoke to him too the other day. He's looking to put together a grand jury on all of this. So I'm hoping that maybe that will cause some of this stuff to go the way it should and bring that charge back. Because at the end of the day, no matter what's going on, a 30-something-year-old man has no business being anywhere near a 16-year-old girl that way. And the other thing that I'll add to that as well is, what I understand is that where he met that 16-year-old girl was at work, and the place of employment apparently, allegedly, knew that he was a sex offender, that he wasn't supposed to be near children, yet hired him at a place that teenagers worked.
Well, there's a civil suit, and it shocks me. 10 violations of a protection notice. And that's just not enough for a guy who's already been sent away for 10 years and got a pretty little favor getting out in one. It tells you that he hasn't learned his lesson, and he continues to violate, and it's not going to change. Justin, let's stay close on this on speed dial. I mean, just like I said, that representative you told me about just a moment ago, he said it's the tip of the iceberg, and he's actually coming up right after you. So thank you for this, Justin. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Justin Shepard, he is just in the nick of crime. Run, don't walk, and follow all of his accounts, because he is always way out ahead on these true crime stories.